Yeah.
Square thing. You got all AM channels, and then one day you could buy a transistor radio with FM.
Ooh.
And it was like,
With FM.
yeah, then you can listen to music instead of fucking talk shows, which were early versions of podcasts.
Yeah.
I thought what we would do, what's been on my mind lately is the term OG. And what is a fucking OG? You know, I know what it stands for, old guy, but to me, it always has a little bit more of a significant meaning. It's somebody it's an older guy that's been doing something all the time. You know, he's like an OG, and it's like they'll talk about OGs in surfing. You know, because some guy's been surfing for 50 years,
right?
And he's still getting out there, and he's still getting on it, and he's still doing as well as guys a lot younger than him,
right?
So they'll give him the term as an OG, versus the guy that's sitting on the couch eating Twinkies and not doing anything. He's just old.
Yeah. I think, as far as I've known it, is OG stands for original gangster.
Yeah.
Which is has a bit of a different meaning, but similar, but.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably where it came from, but then it somehow or another morphed into, the old guy, like the guys that, are buying the old guy rule t-shirts. It's like, I refuse.
You refuse to buy one of those?
I refuse to ever wear one of those.
I don't blame you.
There is nothing flattering about, old guys rule.
Why? Why not?
I don't. I don't know. It's because I think is that to me, it's like the term OG has some significance to it. But just to be an old guy rule t-shirt, what have you done? What have you done? What are you ruling? That's what I want to know. What are you ruling?
Well, I think it's kind of like just what you're always talking about, with like kids making their parents feel old and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's something to that effect of like, we're still cool even though we're old.
Yeah.
I think it's more for the person wearing it than the person reading it. That's what it seems like to me. It seems like it's a self-reminder to
that I'm still pertinent in this world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know too. But I like it. I was talking to Todd the barber, and we were talking about OGs, and he always refers to some guy that out there in the lineup where he surfs regularly,
right?
As the OG, in the water.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a significant, I guess, view of somebody that's out there, and he kind of is. He told me a story once that and he referred to him. Some younger guy did something, took off on somebody, got all aggro, kind of like was going to. And he says, and the OG just got in the middle of it and told the guy just to calm down, go paddle over there, stop making a scene.
Yeah,
that kind of. So he's kind of like. He's in that position where he's policing, sort of, the little group that's out there, or the people that recognize him, or he knows who he's, So I thought that was really cool because that's taking a stance, that's taking, a position of some kind of authority to keep calm,
right,
in the area,
which you could probably really only do if you are an OG. Right?
Yeah.
You could try it if you weren't, but you probably wouldn't get as much of a response or respect for it.
Well, I think what happens then, if you've got somebody that's, similar in age that's trying to do that, all that is throwing gasoline on the fire.
Yeah.
I think at that point, it becomes a little bit more aggressive rather than somebody listening,
Yeah,
because
then
it'd be kind of like mind your own fucking business, that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, now you got something escalating.
Right.
So. Yeah, but so that I don't know. That's just been on my mind, of okay, what constitutes somebody from being an old guy to being an OG. And I kind of come up with the thought and the idea that you and I are just now talking about, and that's somebody that's significant in whatever genre of arena that he is in.
Yeah.
And he's been at it for a long time, and he has respect from his peers.
Sure.
Is what it appears to. So, tailing off of that, it's like, how do you do that? How do you get to that level? How do you get to that point? And I think what it is staying with something, having some consistency in an arena that you have a lot of younger people coming up into.
Yeah.
It's almost like mentoring, I think, maybe. I don't know. It's but it's definitely true, and I think it kind of transcends whatever sport that we're talking about, or whether or activity that we're talking about, and it gets to a point where somebody's a little bit more elevated and has a lot of knowledge about it and has been at it for a really long time.
Right. Yeah.
So we got a lot of company here. We forgot to close up the.
I know. I was gonna say we should have.
I know it.
Should have closed the door, and I forgot to turn the lights on back there.
I know.
behind you. So.
Yeah, there's no time like the present. We're going to take a break.
Yeah. So I didn't even roll the intro. I haven't done that for the past couple of podcasts because I haven't been able to find an organic time to do it.
Yeah.
Because
I kind of like the way that we're doing it, where we're talking and it's going, and and then it just kind of melds itself right into it.
Yeah, I mean, we usually will do something to that effect, but it's typically like.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it like right now. That'd be the time. There it is. It doesn't sound official until we hear that.
Yeah, I would say. That's what I was saying. Like the last couple of podcasts, we haven't done it. And
I know.
Because usually, I can edit all of this stuff later. Obviously, I usually when we're recording, I just have it like fade to black. So it's just dark, and then I'm waiting for the right time to kind of roll it in, like I usually do, and then fade up to.
And it just doesn't happen.
And I just can't find it, so I end up just fading up to it, and I should fix it in post later.
We should probably tell everybody, that's listening to this particular podcast, that there is no special guest. That it's just Mike and Brian.
That's what I named it.
Yeah, did you really?
Yeah, Mike but like the N, like Mike
and Brian. But but this is episode 25, and it's kind of a landmark for us considering our history. When did we start our podcast? It's been, I
can definitely check.
I know it's 2 years. It's got to be.
I can definitely check. I'm going to fix that a little bit. Damn. Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah, because what was the first one? I think the first one was Danny Nicoletti.
The first one we ever posted was the 21st of January 2021, which was actually exactly a year ago today.
That is crazy. That is funny. Yeah. So hey, this is our anniversary. That's why we're doing it.
Yep. Yeah.
Little did we know. But yeah, 2 years and 25 episodes. So 25 episodes is a landmark for us, but 25 episodes over a 2-year period is pretty dismal if you don't know the history of what happened. And, it's, a quick synopsis of, if that's the right word, I think it is, of the timeline of what the hell happened was that we started it out.
Oh yeah, that was the right word.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm waiting for you.
yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, you know me, I fuck up the language. But we started out 2 years ago today, and we had cameras that were, let's just say, less than effective. We had lights that looked like we bought them at Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And we went directly straight into a computer and didn't have any switchers or didn't have any sound. We didn't have anything that, so the editing took forever to do. And the mic I remember the mic arm, the stand that we had. I think we were right in the middle of a podcast and it fell apart. It actually, the spring came off or something.
Did it really?
Yeah, and it kind of crashed out.
That's like Steven. That's
Steven sitting in the chair. Yeah.
See, there you go. We've been at it for over a year now, and it's still happening.
It's still happening. But everything that we bought, and it's funny because we bought a ton of shit in the very beginning, and we thought this was a big investment. And it actually was. We ended up spending, I think, in order to get everything up and going the first time around, it wasn't quite $2,000, but it was close. It was kissing that point.
Right.
And that lasted probably all of about 2 or 3 episodes, maybe.
Yeah.
At the most.
Yeah.
And then we had the other issue too, is that Brian was in Texas at the time.
That I was.
And then we had another group of young guys that were there that were going to be, the producers and the sound guys and put it all together. And that all worked well for a few episodes, but then I don't know, they kind of grew up and decided they were going to get real jobs and then time restraints, and we kind of ended up just pulling the plug on it for about 6 months, I think. Maybe a little bit longer, because we didn't have anybody that was, going to be able to turn the lights on and the cameras, and sit at the computer. And then we ran into problems with editing because the editing wasn't getting done, in time. We had to. What did we do? We put that up on. How did we put it in a Dropbox or something?
You talking about like when I was in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would. So we would upload all of the data from. I used to record into each camera on a separate SD card into each camera, which only allotted us so much recording time, and
that's right.
A separate audio file in our audio recorder, which was not even the right one to use, but it worked. But and then the guys would take all of that after we were done, and they would put it in the Dropbox, which was like a couple 100 gigabytes. And then I would wait for it to all come to me over, in the stratosphere.
Yeah.
And then I would download everything from Dropbox onto, my hard drives, and edit it all together into which included taking each individual clip, and every time, I would do this, I would have to physically do it in the editing software. I would have to chop this piece of footage and chop your piece of footage that's pointing, the camera that's pointing at you. I'd have to chop that one and put it in place of the other one. And, it took me, days to finish a podcast, and it just was, it was not the right way to do it.
And we were running through people. We had Stefan that jumped in, and he was going to help us. He had some background, and so he came in, and then he changed up the lighting. We got different lights. And I can't remember. I think we kind of kept going, but it wasn't real regular. I mean, it was sporadic at best.
Sporadic,
very sporadic. And then I don't know. I think it at that point it just lost steam because we didn't have anybody here that was going to sit in Brian's chair and run the program, so that when I was up here talking to whatever guests that we had, there was somebody managing the sound and managing the cameras and,
Right.
you know, and whatever. So we didn't have them. So it sat kind of dormant for a while. And then Brian came back from Texas. And then we had an opportunity to move because we all of this all started out in the garage. And so we had an opportunity to move out of a garage, which had an aluminum big door right on the street, and, you know, motorcycles would go by, cars would go by, little kids skateboarding up and down the sidewalk. I mean, it was wild, but, you know, it was
so loud.
Yeah, it was so loud. We even had a cricket. Remember the cricket?
We did the cricket of the garage. Yeah.
Every episode you could hear the cricket in the background.
I think we used to call him the mic check cricket.
Yeah.
Back when we were mic check.
Yeah.
Mike Nunley. I was looking through the Instagram yesterday, went all the way back, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot
about that. Yeah.
We had a whole different logo set up and everything.
Yeah, no, I saw that logo, you know, just last week for some reason. I think I was doing the same thing, running through a bunch of pictures for Instagram, and I came across that. But so then we came a friend of ours, actually Todd the barber, opened up a new shop, and he had spare room in the back that we leased from him, and we built a pretty nice studio back there. You know, smaller than where we're at right now, but
it's smaller.
Yeah, but it suited us. It was great.
It worked.
It worked. It was really nice. And then at that same time, that's when we started buying better equipment.
Yeah.
You know,
the best part about that space though is the acoustics. It was dead silent. It was so quiet.
Well, it had concrete walls all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tomb. I'm not really sure it was a room. It was a tomb, and it was dark and there was no windows, and so I mean, yeah, it was a perfect studio. It really was. If it had been bigger, that would have been ideal. But but that was also the time that we bought all our new equipment. That's when we went out and we bought the framework skater mic stands so that they wouldn't fall apart like the others did. We got the Rode mics, we got the switchers, we got everything. I mean, we got the new lighting. So it really, put us at a different level.
Right.
For those of you thinking about doing a podcast, by all means do it. It's challenging, it's frustrating, but it's rewarding and it's fun, and we have a good time doing it. But be ready if you're going to do it. I don't know that we had to do it the way we did it, but we chose to do it and do it a nice way, a good way, just, so we can have fun doing it. And we probably have about, I don't know, I'd say about 25 grand in equipment.
I lost track a long
time
ago.
Yeah. I would have to ask Jill. She would know right off the top of her head.
Your accountant.
Yeah, my accountant. Yeah. No, my accountant holds me accountable. So we moved into the new studio with all this new equipment. We got up and got going, and we put probably 5 pretty good episodes together in that studio.
Yeah.
And then Todd lost his lease.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know,
we were just getting settled in.
Yeah, so we ended up having to pack everything up and put it away. And then it took us about 6 more months before we moved into the new place where we're at right now. And everything is all set up, everything's good to go. And I hopefully, knock on wood, that from I think what was it, 20? Let's see, Robbie was 21, Brandy's 19. Okay, Daniel Wells at number 20. So 5 episodes back was our first episode here at the new place.
Yeah. So that would have been Danny.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That was a good podcast.
That was a great podcast.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, if any of you haven't heard Daniel Wells, great podcast. Really, really a good one. Really enjoyed that one. Dylan and Steven, that was a good one.
That one was fun.
Yeah. Robbie was a good one. The thing with Robbie, I kind of felt bad, but he had a time schedule, so we only had like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a real short podcast, but that's just going to give you guys an idea of what it's going to be like when we have Robbie back, which will be fairly soon. He lives in Texas, so next time he comes back in town, we're gonna snatch him up and do a nice long one.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too long before he's able to come back and come on. I mean, we had so much more to talk about. I mean, I could tell there were so many different avenues that we could have gone down with just the few bits of conversation we had. So.
Yeah. You could, I mean, just the workouts alone. You can eat up 45 minutes just talking about that, and diet and nutrition and all those things that he does. I mean, doing bodybuilding at that level, there's a whole lot to talk about. So we just kind of breezed over everything just to kind of get it all in. So the next one's going to be a really good one. But so that leads us now, we're here. We got everything all put together. We're excited about the future. And this is another thing too, that I think that's important if we're talking about podcasts right now, is that if you're thinking about doing a podcast, do it for the right reasons. Do it because you love it. Do it because you it's fun to do. You just want to hang out. You want to have your friends in. You want to talk about a bunch of shit. You want to have interesting people in that, you can sit and you can talk about stuff and act like you know what you're talking about, when reality is, you don't have to, because I very seldom know what I'm talking about. I'm just, trying to make it sound like I do. That's, I think that comes from being a dad. You always got to sound like you know what you're talking about when you have kids. But
that's for sure.
Yeah, no shit.
I already have that disease.
But do it for the right reasons. Have fun, because I'll tell you, if you think you're going to do this and you're going to be the next superstar and make gazillions of dollars doing a podcast, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's if you end up, you have something that just clicks and you enjoy doing it, and next thing you know, you got checks coming in, good on you, dude. That's
sweet.
That's nice. Pretty. But don't get into it thinking that that's going to happen, because it is not going to fucking happen.
Right.
And
I think the way that the reason that it took us, so many tries, is, I mean, I've done a lot of research over the last, 10 years in audio video stuff. I've been interested in it for a very long time. So, I already had a basis of knowledge of a lot of this stuff, but obviously every application is different, needs different equipment, different programs, different file formats, different blah, 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 all that, jargon that you just,
yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Well, and that's a good point too, because you had a lot of experience on this kind of stuff. Yeah. Going through school, doing big soundboards,
right. Yeah.
Doing production, so you get a lot of background in it. But, for me, I was talked into this gig. And honestly, God, I don't want to say I didn't know what a podcast was, but honest to God, before I started doing a podcast, I had never listened to a podcast.
Yeah.
I knew about Joe Rogan. I mean, who
doesn't?
Who doesn't at this point? Or even 2 years ago, who didn't know about Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
So I knew about a podcast, but I've never listened to one, and I didn't know the first fucking thing about a podcast.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got, led down the path. Oh, you'd be so good. You get along with people. You're personable. You like to talk about all the things that you would think would be. And I listened to a couple of my first early ones, and it's embarrassing.
Of course, naturally.
Yeah, it's freaking embarrassing to even after only 25 podcasts, I've gotten better, because what I found, this is no different than anything else in my life, that if I get into something and it becomes a challenge, I will do everything I can to get good at it.
Yeah.
At least get as good as I can get at it. And that's the key, because as best as I can be may not be the best for anybody else, or it may not be enough to push over the edge, but at least as long as I know that I'm giving it 100% and I'm doing the best that I can do. And I'm actually a student of it now. I'll listen to multiple podcasts, only not so much to hear what they're talking about or who the guest is, but I'll just spend a lot more time listening to how the host is. The questions that he asks. Is he talking too much? Does he talk over people? Is he the focal point or is the guest the focal point? There's a lot of stuff in there that I try to glean from all the podcasts that I listen to now. So, you know, I don't really listen to them as entertainment as much as I listen to them as education.
Right.
You know? So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
you know, it's because I want to get good at it. You know, I want to be proficient at whatever it is that I'm doing. And one of the biggest fears I had in the very beginning was the vulnerability of all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I have 10 million people tuning in to Mike Nunley Getting Real, but once it goes up onto Spotify, it has that opportunity to reach that many people. So I'm putting this out there for whoever comes across it and listens to it.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to sound like a jackass. You know, I do that enough in my everyday life. I don't want to, you know, put it out there and, you know, on Spotify that stays forever, ever, and ever. You know, and then
Yeah, I mean,
but there's a vulnerability to doing this
for sure. Yeah,
and that's one of the things that pushes me to be as good at it as I can possibly get.
Right. Right.
You know, and it's like, you know, one of the things that I will listen to some of the podcasts that I have done and critique, and that's really hard because I always think that I communicate really well. I think that I communicate very fluidly. I think I communicate, but it's surprising how many ums and you knows and all the different little nuances that you have when you talk daily talk. It's like learning Spanish at school and then taking that Spanish that you learned in the classroom and going out in the real world and people are looking at you like, what the fuck you just say? You know, there's the same language, but it's done differently.
Right.
So my everyday language doesn't really fit as well when I'm doing a podcast, although you think that it would because we're trying to keep this real.
Yeah.
But when I'm listening to myself, I go, oh, geez, what did I say that for? That was fucking stupid.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's just like it's just one of those things. That's like, you know, oh well, like, said it. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, move on.
Maybe next time I won't broach that subject.
Yeah, yeah. I felt really bad. I said Brian's a dumbass, but you know,
you don't ever feel bad.
But so, anyways, that's where we're at, man. We're at number 25, 2 years later, and.
Yeah, I realized earlier I said January 21st, 2021. That was a year ago. No, it was 2 years ago. I forgot that we were in the year 2023.
2023, yeah.
They just continuously do not sound real. So,
no.
My bad. I meant 2 years, but which is even cooler.
Yeah, I know it. I know. But now it is January 2023, and we have exactly the whole year because we really started back up in, I think Daniel was December 30th. If I saw or at least it posted on December 30th. 16th?
Yeah, 16th.
So, you know, so that, you know, that's really cool in the sense that, you know, we've got a whole year now. We could literally do 50 more between now and this time next year.
Yeah.
If we just do once a week.
Yeah.
You know, which kind of is our thing.
It's sort of where we've been at. Like every Sunday we do one, and post one every Monday.
Yeah, so. unless I cut back at work sooner, and we can squeeze in an extra one during the week or whatever. That would be kind of fun too.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Maybe when I start turning a paycheck on this bad boy.
Yeah, well, you know, it's fun. It's fun, Brian.
Fun don't pay the bill.
You know, cry me a river.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just one of those other things about like starting something like this too. Is like, don't expect to make any money because you will just spend a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and that's what I was gonna say is the reason that we started out the way we did is because. Honestly, like, I had some experience. Like I was saying, I had some experience prior, but, you know, I didn't really know the right way to do this. And I don't even, I couldn't even say that this is the exact right way to do this still. I mean, it works,
Yeah.
we could do a live podcast and, record, we could do, anything pretty much, but
well, just the way that you're editing today versus how we edited back then.
More right than then.
3 cameras, 3 SD cards, and had to blend them all together and then put the sound to them. I mean, that was a 4 or 5 day process. That was
was not fun
at best. It wasn't. And now, it's practically edited by the time you get it.
No, yeah, it's done unless there's some little thing like if we want to take a little break in the middle or whatever. But and I'm curious about that too, because if you notice, like when Joe Rogan does, like for example, when Joe Rogan does a live podcast, he typically posts. I don't think I've ever watched a podcast live of his, but he does do them live. And if they take a break or whatever, there's usually no time in between. Like it cuts pretty almost like they edit it together, but you're like, it's a live podcast,
Well,
I want to look into that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple things right there that, right off the bat. One is he's in year, number 11 or 12 or, he's been doing this a long time. And the other thing, very, very simple, one word, Jamie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been at it a long time, and
he went to school for this.
Yeah, and
he's an audio engineer. But.
But he's a smart motherfucker.
Yeah.
I mean, if Joe can be sitting there, I talk Joe like him and I are buddies. When Mr. Rogan is
that's better.
Yeah, it's much better. Is sitting with one of his guests that is like Mike Baker ex-CIA, or you got Jocko, or you've got some chemist that's on there super amazingly smart, and they'll say, hey, bring up such and such, and within a freaking 4 seconds, he's got it up on the screen.
Yeah.
And he can explain what's up there on the screen and what they're saying. And he's just
that's definitely going to take some practice for me. I mean, I know we just got this ability, so I'm definitely going to have to work on being able to find like the answers quicker.
Yeah, but that's the fun part though. That's the fun of being challenged and pushing yourself. I mean, you know what? If somebody wants to do a podcast and they're afraid to do it, and they don't want to do it, or they don't know what to do or how to do it. I just want to say one thing. When I started this podcast thing, I was 68 years old. So don't give me a fucking excuse. I know nothing about technology. I know nothing about podcasts, and I jump in both fucking feet.
Yeah. It's good you got me then, I guess.
Exactly. Well, hey, the price was right. So.
Yeah. I would say, if anyone's afraid of starting a podcast and they don't know what they're doing, shoot us a DM or something. Let us know. I mean, I'd be happy to walk anyone through, how I arrived. Because again, I don't know that this is the exact right way to do it. There's 1,000 different ways that you could do this, but this is how I did it, and it's working just fine. So, and every time we have an issue, like I said yesterday, like we had an issue with the hard drive. I learn every time, I'm constantly learning more and more and more. And I get down these rabbit holes of stuff and different, whatever. So, if anyone is curious, I'd be happy to give my, advice on how I started on the technical side of doing a podcast. I'd be happy to give advice on how to, where to start with that. And that, again, this is what I was going to say. I had some prior knowledge, but it really took finding, doing it the wrong way first to then figure out, that doesn't work. We got to change that. That doesn't work. We got to change that. And I mean, it's still ever evolving, but I think I probably could have I did some research on, YouTube of other people. Here's how to start a podcast. Here's what you need, but they don't really go in depth. And so, you can just buy all this equipment. You can buy this, pod track, or you can buy the thing, they tell you what to buy, but they don't really explain how to use it properly necessarily. So it would definitely be nice to see.
And that's really good. That's really a great idea too. And I never thought about that, but I mean, we're just two guys, You know, we're easily approachable. We're not, you know, we're not hard asses. And, you know, if somebody, you know, wants to do a podcast, if somebody is really, you know, looking to venture out and don't know how to get started, just, you know, Instagram, you know, Mike.podcast and DM us, and I'll make sure Brian, you know, either Brian will catch it or I'll catch it. And I won't guide you, guarantee, because you know, somebody could have told me all the shit to buy and I would have bought it and it'd still be in boxes in the corner. So but Brian, you know, very, very smart, very knowledgeable, does know his way around here. He's downplaying a little bit of what he does, but you know, without Brian, you know, none of the stuff's up off the ground. None of the stuff is getting, you know, on a platform. You know, it's he's 100% behind the scenes doing it all. I've got the easy part, finding the guests and just sitting here and bullshitting and drinking scotch or coffee.
Well,
today's coffee. Today's coffee.
Yeah, today's coffee. Normally.
Yeah. Normally it's scotch or wine, or depending on who's here. I've had a couple pretty big scotch drinkers that were, you know, sucking down some Macallan 18.
Yeah, you're like, shit.
I know.
We're not making money on this thing yet.
That's always just for fun. But that, and you know, and that's another thing too, is that, you know, the fun part for me, I don't know anything at all about any of this equipment.
Right.
But I love to buy the equipment.
Yeah.
I do. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But when Brian comes and says, well, we need to get, yeah, just buy it. Just buy it. And then I'm sitting there waiting I'm waiting for Amazon to come by the next day. Oh, did we get it? And Brian will tell you as soon as it comes and I get it, I rip it open, take a picture of it and send it. Hey, it came.
Christmas Hey, I mean, I got plenty more shit I can order if you want. I'd be happy to. It brings you that much joy.
I don't even know what it is. Like you told me, you know, okay, we need a new hard drive. Go ahead and get it. And I'm thinking, hard drive. So this one here must be made out of different metal because it's much harder.
This is a softer drive?
Yeah. Can't we do a soft drive?
This is a medium firm? No. I actually don't know why they call it a hard drive. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. Practice on that baby, man. See what it is. But yeah, it's so much fun. So much fun. I mean, we've had every guest we've ever had on, you know, has just been, you know, just a treat. I mean, the guest we had on last week, Denise, who's an investigator for the district attorney's office. You know, I love listening to her. You know, she is not just that she's an investigator, because we talk very little about that, but that she's a mountaineer and some of the shit that she does, and leaves at like 11 o'clock at night to go hike some freaking mountain so that they have enough time by the time they get there that they have time to walk back down before it gets dark the next day. It's just crazy stuff. But I love her.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I love her. She's awesome. You know, that's a fun podcast. You know, Robbie, like I said, he was a good one. We got Danny Nicoletti going to come back on. I've known Danny for a lot of years. I love talking with him. So it's
yeah. When's he coming on?
I got to give him a call. He said it'd be February. Todd's going to be in February too, so we got him hooked up. We got another friend of mine that I've known for a long time, Scotty. Going to bring him on. Then if anybody's listening to this and knows a child counselor, psychologist that would be willing to come on the show, I am really, really wanting to talk about children today, the depression rate that we're seeing in young kids, the stress, the anxiety that young kids are going through today. And I just would really love to sit and kind of get a professional viewpoint. It's easy for us that don't know the ins and outs of it medically to have, you know, some kind of made up opinion of why and where and what kids should do. They just need to put down the social media. They need to get up off the couch. They need to go outside and play like we used to do. You know, and that all sounds good, but it's bullshit. You know, there's something really going on, and I would really like to talk to somebody. So if anybody knows anyone, have them DM us, you know, at mike.podcast. And
that'd be great.
I'd love to schedule it.
I've been fascinated to figure it out too.
Yeah.
I have my moments just like anyone else, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm depressed.
Right.
But I've been fascinated by it too, because I see it, probably even more than you do, because I'm obviously amongst peers at my age. And
Right.
I mean, it's literally everybody. Like,
Yeah.
not just like you say that and it's like hyperbole. It's literally everyone has some kind of like, like mental whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Now, and I wonder too, is it real with everybody, or is it kind of following the group with some?
Could never say.
Yeah.
Could never say.
And I would hate to put it that way, because, if you misjudge somebody and they really are reaching out for help, and you go, you don't need help. You're just, putting on a front, putting on a game, and something happened. I mean, that would be catastrophic.
Yeah. Of course.
But I don't know. That's why I would love to have somebody on that can explain it to us and tell us what's real, what's not real, why are we seeing so much of it today? Was it always there, but we didn't talk about it? I don't know. So help out, if you know somebody, or if you are that person, DM us at Instagram. Mike.podcast.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
That'd be cool. I'd be interested in that conversation for sure.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I'm trying to get there's a couple people that I'm hoping to get. One of them is a paddling coach. When I say paddling, it's either outrigger canoe or dragon boat. Bring up outrigger canoe so that people can see and know what it is. But bring up the Red Bull outrigger canoe. It's a Hawaiian team that I don't believe that Red Bull's sponsoring them any longer. This is going back probably to 2000. I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. But it is an iconic picture. See the one on the top right-hand side right there?
Yeah, this is the one that you posted on your story the other day, right?
Yeah. That is the most freaking amazing shot ever. Look at how this Hawaiian team, these are professionals as far as professional can be in the world of outrigger canoe. Most everybody that's professional still has to have a full-time job because it doesn't really pay anything.
Backcountry is your one-stop shop for.
But when you look at the photo, or you look at watch this in the video and see the timing. Look at the guy in the front. He doesn't miss a stroke, even though he's up in the air. And see how everybody hits the water at the same time. This is just an amazing. Look at this.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You
know me, Mike. You know that is my worst fear.
I just love this.
I love it. It's our culture. It's in our blood.
This is an endurance sport.
Look at that.
Of nature, of the ocean.
But just see how the paddles go into the water all at the same time. It's a technique, and they call that the Tahitian paddling stroke, because the Tahitians actually reinvented the way that you paddle in an outrigger canoe. And Tahitians are like, I did that today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Water was fucking cold too.
You can drown just flipping. It's just a tough sport. And I love it.
It's a big part of Hawaii, just like the hula.
Red Bull
It's been in our
finds
lives
the
from the ancient days.
craziest
This
human
how they
beings.
transported us
Yeah, well,
Polynesians from island
they
to
find the
island.
obscure. They find the things that not everybody's doing, or that not everybody even knows about. This is just. I started outrigger canoe paddling in 2000. I think it was 14, and I did it with a club down in Newport Beach, NAC. And I remember my first year or so of paddling, and I would be in the boat, and I was the one that everybody yelled at all the time. all the time. You know, you're out of
Too slow, out of sync.
You're out of sync. You're out of time. You know, speed it up, go faster, go slower.
Yeah.
And then the coach, Jimmy, poor guy. I mean, he was such a good guy in that he tried to help, but I just didn't get it. I didn't get the concept. He kept telling me, straighten your arm, keep your arm. You're bending your arm. Don't bend your arm. And I'm trying to think to myself, how in the hell do you paddle if you don't bend your arm? Because I'm thinking about it in the terms of being in a regular canoe and merrily going down the lazy river and, just paddling. And I didn't really look at these guys, see how their arm, when it goes into the water, they'll show another shot here in a second, when it reaches out all the way and watch their arms, see how their arms stay straight as they're paddling it in the water. If you come up to another one, kind of stop it if you can. Right there. See right there. See how his arm is straight? Now go ahead and let him finish the stroke, and you'll see that arm never bends until the blade is out of the water. And I could never get that concept. I just couldn't do it. So I constantly got yelled at, and I couldn't figure it out. And so finally, I got frustrated, and then that's when I started looking at YouTube videos and figured out, okay, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. And then I started paddling and outrigger on OC1's one-man outrigger canoes just to practice, to finally get to a point to where my stroke was exactly the way that it's supposed to be. But it took forever. And outrigger canoe racing is, I tell people, it's like golf. It's one of those things that you are never going to really get great at, because it's always changing. I have like some videos of me paddling, and I think I'm just fucking killing it. I honestly look Tahitian, man. I'm just like going, and then I'll see the video of it, and it's like I'm all whacked out. My arm's not going in at the right time. My blade is going too far out or too far. I mean, it's just, you can never, ever really get it down perfect.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. That's me right there.
Not bad.
My OC1. Yeah.
Lost it.
Yeah. See, nice straight arm. Both arms. You want to make that A, they call that the A shape. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm happy with that. Got a lot of power. Love outrigger canoe. Just love it. Love it. If anybody is the least bit interested in that, find a club. Like I said, I had belonged to the club in Newport for a little while, NAC. That's a Newport Aquatic Center. Great outrigger canoe history there, and a lot of really, really talented people. And now I'm in Long Beach and paddling with the club and a group of guys there. Kayake. I don't know. I can't ever pronounce how it is. Bring them up because that'd be really embarrassing for me to be on. It's just look Long Beach outrigger canoe. Yeah, that right there. Kayake. Kayake. I don't know. I never can pronounce that. But that's the club here in Long Beach, and really, really a lot of really nice people. Some very seasoned paddlers. I'm really excited about the upcoming season. Yeah.
There you go. March through September, huh?
Uh-huh. Yep. So, look at that dues or due. Oh, that's 22. Yeah, I think if you haven't paid your 22 dues, you're...
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't pay after the season.
Yeah.
Surely you don't pay. They don't
Yeah.
let you pay after the season.
Yeah. But really a good group of guys, a great place. But you know, if you think at all that you would like to try outrigger canoeing, they're always looking for paddlers. Don't get frustrated. You know, find the right group, learn how to paddle correctly, and you know, it's just a great environment with a lot of really great people. And the races are just phenomenally fun. And
Hell of a workout.
oh my God, yeah, yeah. I'm still sore from today.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, we did I think it was 10 miles today. So,
Jeez.
out there. But it wasn't bad because it was really smooth. When it gets really bad is when you get a lot of white caps and it's windy and you get a lot of chop and up and down, and you know you lose momentum.
Tired out really fast.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Going back to when I first started with NAC. I did a few races there, and then I was asked by a few guys if I wanted to race with them up at San Francisco and do the Alcatraz Island race, which
Oh, cool.
which was it's what they call an Ironman, and because you don't switch out, you're in the boat, you stay in the boat, and you do the whole race with whatever guy started, and
Jeez.
and this was back in the day when my stroke was not very good, to say the least. And but they told me, they said, yeah, but you know, yeah, we can find guys that have a little bit more experience, but what we really like is you never quit, you never give up, you know, you keep going. So I went out there and I was doing this race with them, and it was really tough, and the current out there is just unbelievable. And I remember who was one of the guys, Ron, who was the steersman. He was just, you know, he was really a good guy. But he was on me the whole time. And obviously now I understand why, you know, being out of sync and not doing it hard enough, whatever. Well, we went all the way to Angel Island, which was really tough. And you can see where it goes around the island. So you go around the island on the backside. Well, it's protected back there from the wind. So it's really calm. And it's oh, this was great. So, you know, you got to relax a little bit. When you make that corner coming back to the harbor.
Here. Oh, here.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you're going into a full-on headwind. And right about there where the middle arrow is.
This one.
There was a spot right there to where the current was so tough.
Yeah.
The boat literally came to a standstill.
Holy shit.
For 10, 15 minutes. Seemed like an hour, but 10 or 15 minutes, we just couldn't get it done. And everybody,
as hard as you can.
As hard as you can.
Oh my
and
God.
the problem that I had, because I was, and this is where the proper paddling technique is so important. I was using all arms as I was going. Well, you could only do that for so long, especially in that kind of a situation, and your muscle, you're just going to blow up. And that's what happened. I just blew up, and you can't stop paddling. That's the thing. When you're in the boat, I don't care, unless a shark comes and grabs your arm, you know, there's no stopping. You know, you cannot do that to the guys that are in the boat with you.
Yeah.
But basically that's what I did, because I didn't have any more strength. My arm was gone, and I was just barely putting the blade in the water. And I think it finally came unstuck. And I think I had the chance to then kind of recuperate just a little bit to get some movement back in. Then I started trying to paddle hard again. But and I got to say this, not that any of them are going to probably ever hear this, but you know, I am so sorry, you know, because I really feel that it was because of me that we didn't get a podium finish. That I think that we were kind of lined up for at least a third place. And because of my lack of experience, my lack of technique, my lack of, you know, just doing it properly, I think really cost these boys, you know, a well-earned, well-deserved podium.
I mean, that's rough though. Like you're fighting the wind for 10, 15 minutes straight, and you're not moving anywhere. I mean,
but but honestly, if I would have done my job better, then if I would have had a better technique, now I look back at it, God, if I could do that now, I think it would have been a whole different because I'm strong, and if you get you get your blade in the water and you get a good bite, and you're using your whole body, you're twisting, and you're bringing your back and your core and all that stuff into pulling, you can make progress. But I've been wanting to get that off my chest for a while.
Well, what better time than now?
What better time than now? So hey, Ron and all the rest of you boys, with NACs, I apologize. My bad. I'd love to be able to make it up and do it all over again.
Nah, this is a safe space.
Yeah, exactly. So
Picture's
but
damn cool,
but look at that, man. That's crazy out there, and all those guys are just in sync, pushing. Their adrenaline is up, their heart rate is up, their breathing is up. I mean, and by the time you
They're just hanging out right now.
Well,
Look,
when it's in stop.
I don't think that ship is supposed to be there. It's not part of the race.
No. Those ships are big, man. When you paddle up right next to it, down below it, oh my God!
I can't even imagine.
It's mammoth out there in the water.
It's like if someone leaned like a skyscraper over and set it on.
yeah. Thing is just mammoth, and it, you have no idea. I mean, just think each one of those containers that's up there is 40 foot long.
Yeah.
So, that's just it's just wild. But yeah, but that San Francisco, because you start out at right there below the Golden Gate Bridge, and you just go all the way around to go around the island. You come back to the Golden Gate Bridge, and then into the harbor.
Yeah, for this longer course, like kind of close to here's the bridge.
Yeah.
But this one, you kind of just start over here and go.
Yeah. The longer one is, that's the fun one.
That ought to be a little easier, like the wind, maybe a little bit easier on that one because you're not coming straight back from, out of there. You're kind of going across the coastline, I would imagine. But maybe this would be a little rough.
Yeah, that the whole thing is just rough. And you know what? And being in the harbor like that, there's huge swells in there. I mean, it is.
Really?
It's not flat. It's
That's
not
wild.
flat. Yeah, that is very challenging.
Yeah.
For sure. But okay. Yeah, it was that, and then dragon boat. I don't know if you pull up any dragon boat races. That's Long Beach has a there you go. That's nutty because now that I'm doing that for the first time this year, and you can see the difference between that and outrigger canoe. Outrigger canoe, you got 6 guys, and you got plenty of leg space. You got room. You can really stretch, get a big pull. These, you got 20 people in one boat, and I mean, if you're not in sync, you're banging blades. It's kind of good. I like having this. Just so everybody knows too, we're using this as a training program for us for doing a lot of this, so we get used to it. So we're a little bit more efficient when we have a guest on. Yeah.
They're all right.
Yeah, they're okay.
I wonder what's like a bigger race, like more notable.
Oh, you can go to World, go to the World Dragon Boat Race. Then you're only going to have the top of every country going. Yeah, you'll see some really fast boats. It's a huge Asian influence on the dragon boats because its history is from Asia. But it's actually worldwide now because, you know, they'll have Europe, Netherlands, Canada, all around.
Oh man, those guys are getting after it.
Yeah, look at that.
Holy crap.
See, that's what I mean. You go to the Worlds and look at them. They are in sync. There is now.
Jeez.
Look at that. Look at that. I mean, they're in and out of the water exactly the same time.
God, that's nuts.
Yeah. I don't know where this particular race is, but
Thailand.
it's in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the USA team right there.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The coach that I want to have on went to the Worlds, and I think it was in Europe that he went. But also, too, I think that he's done some races all around the world, and he's a really amazing coach. You know, a lot of respect for him. Look at that. Yeah. Well, I think we bored everybody with paddling. Oh, God.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Newport Aquatic Center. Great location, great facility.
Trying to find a good way to like get the pages to kind of line up between the between down here, you know, and up on the
and up on the screen.
Trying to
Yeah.
get it to like line up right the first time is like kind of annoying.
Yeah.
To like figure out how to streamline that process.
Yeah, yeah. But that's another new item that we've just, you know, put up so everybody knows is that, you know, we've got a huge television here now that when we're talking about something that Brian can see on his monitor, when we're being able to look at it now, it's the same thing and look at it up on the TV screen. So it brings a whole new dimension to.
Yeah, it works well for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice being able to pull up some stuff from Instagram or whatever with Denise, and
Yes.
us both were able to kind of see what we had.
What it was that she's doing and how she's doing it, and, you know. So, you know, that was really fun too. What's been one of your favorite that we have done so far?
Daniel was probably my favorite one.
Was it?
That was just. I mean, there was a point where even I was like I was welling up. I was just about to start crying, and yeah, if you guys haven't listened to that one, definitely check it out because that was an incredible podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, just especially because I've known Daniel for a while, and I didn't know any of that. Yeah. I had no idea, and I had no reason to believe any of like that would be true for him. You know, because he's just such an incredible person. You know, and it's just weird to think that he went through all of that.
And I think for anybody that doesn't know the story or hasn't heard that particular podcast, it's about a young man that is, you know, that had battled substance abuse, drug abuse for a lot of years. And the shocking part for me was that it started at such an early age with him. I think he started drinking at 11 when he was out skateboarding with friends, and there'd be, you know, some older skateboarders out there, not that they were in their 20s and 30s, not that old, but, you know, teens, 16, 17, and you're only 11, and they're throwing down a couple beers, and Daniel started drinking, and he liked it, and he liked the feeling of it. And next thing he knew, by the time he was 15 years old, self-realization of that he was an addict and that he couldn't stop. At 15 years old. Fuck me. 15, you know. And then his story from that point until he decided one day on his own volition, nobody was forcing him to do it. Nobody was taking him down there to do it. He had been in and out of rehabs, you know, a number of times. And this time here, he was on his own. He was tired of it. And he even said, He's not even really sure why at that point in time, because he was comfortable out on the streets. Police stopped harassing him. He had his certain places that he stayed, he slept at. He had money in his pocket. So it wasn't like it was down and out and no place to stay and it was going to go to jail or whatever. I mean, you know, as far as homeless life and being a drug addict, everything was going smooth. And all of a sudden he just decided on his own to go, and he went, and, you know, and he did it, you know, and it's just like, just an amazing story about an amazing man. I love Daniel. He is such a good man now.
Yeah.
You know, not that he wasn't always a good man, but I mean, now he's clean, been sober, you know, beautiful little girlfriend, you know, that, you know, adores him. They've got a good life. He's got a good job. You know, he's really and truly just turned his whole life around, and just, you know, amazing story. So, you know, that is a good one. Listen to it if you get an opportunity, you know, so. But, yeah, I think that's probably one of mine, you know, my top ones. I always loved Denise because she's always just fun to talk to. The other one that I really liked too, that, you know, that we don't really talk about, and that was Eileen, the cycling coach. You know, I really enjoyed that conversation with Eileen. You know, she was getting into depth on a lot of stuff, and, you know, she had coached a lot of, you know, not a lot, but she had coached professional cyclists. She had, you know, coached Olympic cyclists. She had coached some GP motorcycle racers. And, you know, my question to her was, who do you like? Do you like coaching the professionals, or, you know, the Olympians, or average? You know, she had, hands down, I'd rather coach the average guy, the average Joe, you know. So I like that. You know, she was just down to earth. You know, she was excellent.
Oh yeah, that was one of those when I was still in Texas. I wasn't. That was just one of her audio podcasts. And should be on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and all those.
Yeah.
But that one was interesting too. The other one too. Oh, Ed Begani was great.
Oh.
I loved having Ed on. I was trying to think. I was like, which one am I thinking of right now? It's Ed, obviously. Duh.
Oh yeah.
Ed Begani, man.
Yeah. If you all want to listen to just a funny guy with a lot of cool stories. I mean, there's an average guy, normal guy, but some of the people that he has met. I mean, he was a football coach for a lot of years, and a strength and training coach for a lot of years, and he's actually had some of his guys go on to play National Football League. A number of them have gotten scholarships to, you know, big universities. You know, he's had a chance to go and have dinner and sit down with Coach John Wooden. You know, just an amazing but down to earth guy. Very, very, very easy to talk to. Just full of life, full of stories. Just a lot of fun. And Ed Begani, gotta listen to that one. That's fun.
Yeah, I definitely like that one a lot. He's also very much into classic cars too, like I am. So
he took me to a classic car show. You know, down at the donut shop,
Seal Beach.
Huntington Beach. Yeah, and God, there's some nice cars out there. You know, I was kind of surprised, thinking, we'll go down to the donut shop. You know, get a cup of coffee and walk around, look at a couple cars. There was like 300 fucking cars there.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, there was a lot there.
Yeah, those guys show out, man. I mean, and that's just like a Facebook group.
Yeah,
you know?
That's all it is. But it's been going on for years. I mean, at least 20 plus years that same location every Saturday morning is going off. And it's funny because we got there around 6 o'clock in the morning, and there were already probably 50 cars there. And then slowly 6 to 7 o'clock they came. Pretty soon it filled up, and, you know, there's a couple hundred cars or more, you know, sitting there, and everybody's walking around, and they leave their cars wide open.
Oh yeah.
Pop the hood, open the doors, and then they take off.
Yeah.
and they walk away someplace. A couple guys will get in a little beach chair or whatever and sit by the car, but for the most part, everybody just gets up and then they're out socializing, and it's like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing in the car culture, like just with what you're saying in general, just like leaving your car or whatever. There's like a mutual respect thing that if like anyone comes in and messes with anything, everybody, I mean, it's like we're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, game on, man. You don't want to do that.
It doesn't fly. It's very interesting. I've seen a lot of because I've been a lot of more down and dirty sort of car meets and stuff, not necessarily car shows, but car meets. With more like the JDM crowd or like the Euro crowd and stuff like that, and a lot of times because typically it goes okay, it goes late. So there's usually some police activity when it gets too late and we're in a shopping center parking lot, like not really doing anything, but they just kind of break it up. And but what 100% of the time, no matter what, if somebody starts doing burnouts or something like that, cops will show up like immediately, right? Of course, if they're revving their engine all loud, of course, right? So a lot of times I've seen, where people will start doing burnouts and stuff, and everyone at the meets like just swarms the car and starts smacking it and throwing bottles at it and stuff like that. And get out of here, like, because we're just trying to hang out and like look at our cars, just like car show people do in the but in the morning time, and somebody comes along and wants to show off their cool thing, and they think it's so sick, and they ruin it for everyone. So similar kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's and I think that's the difference between the age group, because when you start getting into old classic cars, when you got a guy showing up with a 34 coupe or a 57 Chevy or whatever, those guys are all, they're in their 50s at the earliest and into 60s, 70s and beyond.
Sure. Yeah.
So their burnout days are way behind them. They're just mellow, and they're not going to take this, $90,000, 57 Chevy and freaking be stupid with it either.
Oh, I mean, you'd be surprised. I've seen some of the cars that I've seen at like the Huntington Beach Cars and Coffee and stuff. I mean, you get supercars out there, like people just random dudes with McLarens and stuff, and they're all like, I'm not really into supercars too much. I like more classic and like, but some of those guys, and they trick them out, and they like, they tune the engines all. It's just nuts.
Yeah, but they don't really drive them the way that they're designed to be driven.
They do, though. That's what I'm saying. Like the amount of like Lamborghinis that I've seen do, burnouts and do like rev match contests and stuff. Like these guys get pretty crazy.
That's
like,
freaking silly.
But the point is whether it's the early morning car show crowd or the late night car meet crowd, like there's a mutual respect there where everybody kind of checks everyone. So I can't imagine anyone rolling up and doing anything on a car that's just sitting open by itself, at a car show early in the morning. Yeah.
And not to throw legalities into it, but I can imagine too, okay, if a bunch of guys show up at, a mall parking lot.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be there and they got their cars. Okay, on paper that sounds okay, but the liability of that mall owner.
Of course,
if they're allowing that to happen without proper coverage and all, so it's
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
But it's no different than the donut shop guys.
Yeah.
Whoever owns that strip mall and all those that parking lot.
Right.
That.
But I mean, it's obviously not the same risk.
Right.
Right. I mean, somebody may trip and fall just like any random day,
Yeah. But somebody's walker catches a pebble and they're down.
You get a bunch of teenagers that are probably, drinking and hanging out and stuff and doing their thing, whatever,
Yeah.
It makes sense, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that when you're young, you're just like, oh, like, why can't we just have fun? Like, we just want to have fun. But, we know it's dangerous. We're okay with getting hurt. But obviously,
why can't we just have fun on this multi-millionaires, 80-year-old guy, parking lot? Why not? Well, it's because he's 80 years old and he's a multi-gazillionaire and you're just a kid wanting to do burnouts.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. Kind of why you can't go have fun.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I would rather see kids doing that than this, the thing that you start seeing where they're, taking over an intersection and doing donuts out there. And,
That shit is so stupid.
It's-
I can't. It's so stupid.
well, that, and also too, how aggressive these guys get if anybody tries to get in their way and stop them.
Yeah.
That's really, stupid.
The amount of people that have just been killed just by like standing too close and getting hit by someone doing donuts around the circle and stuff is insane. Like, and there's a huge thing in the car culture now with the mutual respect kind of thing. There's a huge thing in the car culture now where, other people of the car culture will figure out who kind of put these things on, and they'll like outcast them and stuff, because it's not cool. It's not funny. It's not,
Right.
It's super, super, super dangerous because you get people that come in their, in their 95 shit boxes and they don't know what they're doing and they want to show off for everyone. And then they start doing some donuts and they slam into a bunch of people and then now they're screwed, right?
Yeah.
You would go to prison immediately.
Well, yeah. And that's the one thing where, unfortunately, and this has been historic for a gazillion years, whether it's, a horse running through town and doing stupid tricks, back in the day, or cars today. But youth doesn't always stop and see consequences.
Yeah.
When whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
and,
That's definitely true.
and so, they end up, you think about the poor kid. I say the poor kid, the kid that's doing the donuts, the guy that's doing these things and he's laughing and hanging out the window and thinking life's grand, and boom, his life's over in a nanosecond.
Yeah.
He's hauled off to jail. He's not going to see daylight for, 15 years.
For what?
And for what? And for what?
For what?
Yeah. Again, we're pontificating on life and stuff, I promised myself when we were going to do this and we talked about doing this that I was not going to get off on, doing the thing about life or talking about positive thinking and working out, and you can go do this and get yourself up and
Not
there's
this time.
no, not this time, man. I finally come to the realization that there are freaking a million other guys out there doing the same fucking thing that are doing it a lot better than I could do it.
It's just easy when you have a conversation with anyone to get on the topic of you can do it too. It's very, very simple to do that.
It's a good philosophy. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do believe everybody can do whatever it is they want to do.
Right.
They may not be a superstar at it. And this is where young kids don't like to hear it, is that when you water it down for them, I'm going to be a Major League Baseball player. And, no, you're really not. No, how can you say that? You're wetting down my dream. Well, because,
Well, it's the thing if you think about like Formula One,
Oh my God.
Think about that.
Oh my
There are
God.
literally 20 people on the face of the planet that get to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
The ratio is not in your favor.
Yeah. And what people don't understand about that too, it isn't, there are probably thousands of just as qualified, if not even more qualified drivers in the world. But it takes more than just being able to do it. You got to have some backing. You got to have some sponsorship. These teams are not going to take just some Joe with no sponsorship, no anything on. They need the financial help.
Right.
So bring us the sponsors, we'll give you a car.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And that's just the way that it is. But that's what a life that would be.
Yeah. Shit's dangerous, but
Yeah. Although it's not as dangerous as it used to be. Just
that's for sure.
Just because just technology has created cocoons for these guys. That whole car just disintegrates all the way around them, and they're surviving in this little cocoon.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to show you this crash from a couple months ago. And this crash was okay. First of all, it was in the first 6 seconds of the race.
Mm-hmm.
So
usually when that happens, when they're all squirreling for position, where was this
This is what happened. This is Great Britain.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can even. And that was him.
That was him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see the shrug? Yeah. It was,
He was like, eh.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about the car, boss.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh man.
Sorry about the $1 million freaking vehicle that it just disintegrated. No, these guys.
I'm just gonna show you one more. Oh, Grosjean.
Yeah, these guys. You don't realize how freaking talented they really are. But it's more than talent. Just the physical gift that they have of the hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, this is so. Do you watch Drive to Survive? This is the Netflix show that covers this. So it's basically a reality show that they've geared around the every day of Formula One.
Yeah,
it's really, really, really interesting. And I've watched all of it except for the newest season that just came out. I really, really enjoy it. It's very interesting, and the edit. This is actually from that show. So this is Roman Grosjean for the Haas team.
Yeah. Oh, I remember seeing this.
This was the craziest crash I have ever seen in my entire life.
It's the craziest ending, And
you could see him in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Half of his
Look at that. Look at that.
Moments where silence falls on a racing track, and you know what that means.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, but just, I mean, that was.
That's my question. How in the fuck did he do that? But that just goes to show you what I was telling you earlier. That's the safety factor in these new cars.
Yeah.
That's a freaking cocoon.
Not only the cars though, the suit and the gloves and the helmet.
It's the suit. It's the fire protection.
Yeah. It's the Hans.
It's the Hans. I mean, they really start changing the suit and the fire protection with Niki Lauda. When Niki Lauda crashed, and I don't know, that's 25, 30 years ago, and that was the time that they really started paying attention to the fire protection.
1976.
76, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then on the other side too is that you've got the same thing with the Hans device.
Yeah.
With Dale Earnhardt.
So is that what happened to Dale Earnhardt?
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt. When he died, he spun and crashed head on into the barrier, and so he went from 100 and whatever miles an hour to 0. And so what ended up happening is as he hit, it snapped his neck forward.
Holy crap!
Where the Hans device holds that into place, so it doesn't whip you. But that was just that. It was sad. But when you can look at something like that, and you can say, we can do better than this,
right?
Then, I mean. Anytime anybody ever mentions a Hans device, I think of Dale Earnhardt immediately.
They're required now in amateur racing and stuff at like Willow Springs. We went there, and you have to. If you don't, if you don't have one, you're not. Going
you don't go on the track. Yeah, even when I was racing, I had to have Hans device. I still have it around here someplace. It's a precautionary. Look at that. Oh man. And look at that in comparison to what we just saw.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't even I don't know how long he was sitting there, but
well, probably a lot longer because they didn't have the trackside response that they have today. I mean everything about this is so totally different. The car itself is a whole different thing. It's like the IndyCar driver, and I can't remember his name, when his car imploded and he was going down the track with his legs dangling out the front at I don't know, 160 miles an hour, something. No brakes, no stopping, no anything, and there's no front end. And his legs are totally exposed, and I think he went into the wall that way. You know, lost both legs. That was horrific.
Not sure if it's this one, but
No.
oh, holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like a compilation of, big crashes or whatever, but
Yeah. Oh, I remember that one.
do you?
Yeah. Yeah, both of them going across the finish line crashed. They may not even show it because it was so horrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God, I can't even. Yeah, just.
Yeah, Indy cars are another one that have, they have changed. It seems like whenever there are changes done in Formula One, it trickles down.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, I remember there was in Drive to Survive, the Netflix show.
Mm-hmm.
There's one part of it where I guess it was an F2 crash or whatever. But they were staging for F1, and the F2 races were going on, and I guess there was some crazy crash, and the kid died. And it was real good friends with a bunch of the people in F1, and so there was a whole bit on that show about that. I mean, it's just crazy, very very crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's a small tight community. In racing, whether it's racing cars, racing boats, racing motorcycles, whatever that it is, the community for that particular genre of racing sport is small, and everybody knows everybody. That's it right there.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Your legs sliding across a race
and
track?
and look, he's just limp. He is just limp.
I can't even. I wonder how fast he must have been going.
I don't really remember.
Not sure which.
But
1981. Rick Mears.
Yeah.
Is that a different
Danny Ongales.
Oh, yeah. Lap 63.
Yeah. Flying about 210 miles an hour.
Holy hell.
Freaking crazy, man.
I'm not even going to, I don't have this up because it's kind of crazy, but that's nuts.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
Yep.
Anyways. Yeah, so they've gotten better.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot better. It used to be like the Indianapolis 500 when I was a kid, that it was when everything was still steel chassis, and that was the mindset. If everything's steel and welded together, it's going to hold together. You know, but they didn't stop and think about the impact and the sudden there's no none of that energy is spent. So all that energy goes right into the driver I can remember where even as a kid, the Indy 500 coming on, I always thought somebody's going to die. And it was always like in those first few laps too.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they didn't have, like Kevlar and fiberglass and stuff then either, right? I mean, they didn't use it in that.
There are so many things that have changed, over the years. It's how the cars are built, the Kevlar, the fiberglass, the stuff that's, going to, release energy. The suspension systems are now, it's not wired, but they're safety wired to where, if you lose the front end, the tires aren't going to be bouncing off into the stands.
Right.
There's so much there. And then the suits and everything are changed, but also too, they've done a lot to the safety around the tracks. With the barriers, with the cushion, with the energy absorbing barriers that are taking a lot of that energy as the car hits it. So there's a lot going on. They're making it about as safe as you possibly can make it.
Yeah, and just to add, one of the other things too is how much larger the cars have gotten.
Yes.
Over the years too. I mean, obviously from from this.
Yeah, look
guy.
at the size of the tires and the type. I mean,
This is what Niki Lauda crashed. This kind of thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from that to this, and like when Romain Grosjean split the car in half, it split about here, right?
Yeah.
Like so, he was totally fine still, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, man, I can't even
imagine. I just can't even imagine it. Just unbelievable. Yeah, back in the '60s is back when it was probably the most dangerous because they had the speed then too.
That's what I was gonna say. Is in the '50s they didn't have very much protection, but they also weren't necessarily going that fast, right?
As fast.
So
right
now, I mean, they're
well now
well over 200 miles an hour.
Now you got NASCAR doing 200 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I mean, in that's a lot of car to handle.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's not your drive off the lot freaking car. I mean, it
what
may
do you mean?
It may have
an
the
LS is an LS.
Yeah, it may have the fiberglass body that looks like it, but anything underneath there is it's
yeah, it's
crazy.
kind of cool seeing like the engine bay of a of a NASCAR.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing in it, but there's so much in it at the same time.
Yeah. Well, another one that's really fun to look at and watch is GP motorcycles. Holy crap!
Oh yeah,
those things are
insane.
Yeah, they are. Those guys that drive those, they're not human. I mean,
God, no.
200 miles an hour on or 220 miles an hour. And then you want to take something even crazier, go to the Isle of Man and watch those guys doing, 180 miles an hour on a city street and coming up over a little hump and, be airborne at 180 miles an hour. That's just bonkers, man.
The deadliest year of Isle of Man was 2005 when 11 people died.
Yeah.
11.
11. And the craziest part about that is what year was that?
2005.
2005, 2006. Everybody came back to do it again.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Guess what happened in 2007?
Yeah,
they did it again.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, that is definitely one of the most dangerous motorcycle races I think that you can do it. It's
crazy.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable to be to be standing there watching it, on the side of the road. That's freaking crazy. You're standing there 5 feet from some guy come flying by you. That's nuts. What the fuck else can we talk about, man? We're like hitting everything.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I just like racing.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is.
I don't want to see him taking off. I want to see him racing.
Yeah.
Having a look right in behind him.
God, look at that.
Yeah. See, look at
this. It looks like rally. You ever seen rally cars from like the inside? They have like cameras on the inside of the car.
But what they don't, these guys that are on the open class and are up at the very top, they've been coming here for a number of years, and the track stays the same. So they get to a point to where they know the track, they know what's coming up, because you can't get at these speeds, you can't guess what's coming up around the corner.
No, I mean that's a pretty common thing in most racing. Like there's this video of one of the F1 drivers. I don't remember who it is. I think it was Daniel Ricciardo. And he's sitting there with a steering wheel with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
And he's standing on a stage, and behind him is this giant video screen of like an on car camera going through the track, and literally to a T, he's turning the steering wheel just the right and shifting, the paddle shifters. He's shifting up and down and turning the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Like he's just standing there with just a steering wheel standing on a stage.
Yeah.
And along with the actual video.
Yeah.
He's doing it exactly right. Like,
Right.
and it's nuts how
Yeah.
how they know, and it's for every track. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. They put because they've been on those tracks so many times,
Yeah.
and then today is with technology.
Yeah.
It's no different than a pilot going into whatever they what do they call it for pilots that are sitting? They're
Taxiing.
no. When they're not flying, but they're in
A simulator.
a simulator. Thank you. Yeah.
Flight simulator.
Yeah, yeah. And, the same thing with racing. These guys have racing simulators for
Yeah.
every freaking track that they spend hours
Yeah,
and hours and
yeah.
hours in. It's crazy. When I was
Played on one.
when I
Pretty
was
cool.
when I was at Bell Helicopter taking emergency procedure class in flying, I got to sit in a simulator for helicopters.
How cool.
It was very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it really gives you the real feel of,
Yeah, I
of
mean, 'cause
being
the
in
whole
it.
cab is like suspended on hydraulics.
Yeah,
right? And it kinda
yeah,
moves
yeah,
around,
and
so-
and the way that the screen is wrapped around and down below you, it's just like sitting inside the helicopter. It was really
So
really cool. Yeah, I got to crash on screen, but it was really
That's
weird.
why you do
when-
it that way, right?
Yeah,
Not
well,
crash.
it's really weird when you do when you really tense up, like whoa,
Yeah. Yeah, because you feel like in your brain, you're like, I'm actually crashing.
Yeah,
right now,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to die in a simulator.
Don't die in a simulator.
Yeah. What else can we talk about, man? There's got to be shit. There's all kinds of stuff. We got cars. We got racing. We got outrigger canoes. You got all kinds of stuff, man.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. We've hit it all at this point.
I know. Maybe we'll save it.
Yeah.
But good. It was a good. I had a lot of fun. This was really cool.
Yeah.
Leave it on an up note.
Yeah.
To all the OGs that are out there. We know a number of them.
Yeah.
Steve DePalma, you're a fucking OG.
Damn right.
Going out and freaking surfing Moss Landing up north, triple overhead in ice water with fucking white sharks floating all around.
I can't even believe I'm related to that guy.
I know, man. He's a fucking hero, So, when you guys think of OGs, think of Steve DePalma,
Yep.
Danny Nicoletti in his 60 fucking going to nationals and
Yeah.
freaking kicking ass on his bike. It's just, unbelievable. I get a friend of mine, Ron Compton, same age as Danny and me, right there in between somewhere. And last time I talked to him, that he was waiting on the lottery to get, I guess they give passes for certain hikes and things, and the one that he's going to be doing is like a 1 week hike along some kind of trail that goes from north to south, and
Similar to what Denise was talking about.
yeah. And he's gone on some 1 week river canoe trips, and
Jeez.
I mean, it's another OG. Just
whole week?
just keeps doing it, man.
Jeez.
Just keeps doing it. So,
Love the sport.
I'll leave this podcast like I try to do. If you're getting older, there's nothing wrong with getting older. We all do it. So
Yep.
so get as old as you can get. Just don't be old.
Yep.
So peace out, everybody. Love y'all. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and tell a friend. And, we haven't said it in a long time, but if any of you are listening and you get onto YouTube or you get onto, subscribe to us, please, or at least tell us that you like us, or if you, don't tell us you hate us.
No, they can't. That's fine.
No, not for me.
Oh,
I'm too
okay.
fragile.
Well, you can tell me you hate me. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I'm too fragile. I don't
Yeah.
want anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody hating me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Forgot you're a wuss.
I'm old. Remember.
He's frail.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
That was